Good evening, everyone. We are going to call to order Narragansett Town Council regular meeting. Today is Monday, March 4th, 2024. The time is 7 p.m. And at this time, I would just like to welcome, we have special guests here today that are going to help us with the Pledge of Allegiance. We have the Girl Scouts, and at this time, I would like to welcome them to come forward here. Hi, girls. Are you ready? We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and you are going to lead us in that. So let's all stand. You can go to the microphone. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great job. Okay, just wait up here for a second. I'm going to read a proclamation in a moment. At this time, we're just going to move on to the approval of minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 20th, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't think Councilor Cicilline Bonanno was at this meeting. All in favor? Okay. Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 4-0 for one abstention. Okay, next we have the proclamation that I will read for the Girl Scouts. It is Girl Scout Week, and Girl Scout Week is actually it's coming up. It's March 10th to March 16th, 2024. Whereas Tuesday, March 12th, 2024, marks the 112th anniversary of Girl Scouts of the USA, founded by Juliet Gordon Low in 1912 in Savannah, Georgia. And whereas through Girl Scouting, girls grow in courage, confidence, and character and learn to make the world a better place. And whereas throughout its long and distinguished history, Girl Scouts, the preeminent organization for girls, has inspired millions of girls and women with the highest ideals of character, conduct, and patriotism. And whereas Girl Scouting takes an active role in increasing the interest and skill levels of today's youth in math, science, and technology careers, and to fulfill our country's economic needs. And whereas through participation in Project Undercover, a council-wide community service project, every girl will learn that she can make a change for the better in her community. And whereas the Girl Scout cookie sale is the world's largest girl-led business, teaching financial literacy to girls of all ages. And whereas the Girl Scouts of Southeastern New England, which serves 4,800 girls in the Rhode Island area, will be celebrating 112 years of an American tradition with 1.7 million Girl Scouts and 750 adult members nationwide. Now, therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of Narragansett, do hereby proclaim the week of March 10th to the 16th, 2024 as Girl Scout Week in the Town of Narragansett and urge our citizens to support Girl Scouts in their endeavors. Witness my hand the seal, official seal of the Town of Narragansett, County, Washington, State of Rhode Island, this 4th day of March 2024. Big round of applause. Okay, at this time we'll just take a little bit of a break, and we'll be able to take photos with the Girl Scouts. Okay, good job, girls. Great job, round. Get those cookie sales, and thank you for the cookies. We appreciate them. Lemonades are my favorite, so thank you very much. All set.
Go out and sell, girls.
Okay, thanks. All right. Moving along, we'll get our next from announcements and presentations. We have our town manager's update.
Good evening, Council. A few items of interest. Everyone has read or heard about the disposition of the Lighthouse Inn down in Galilee. The State Properties Committee met and on the Lighthouse Inn parcels. They terminated the existing lease with PRI 10. They have agreed to demo the existing Lighthouse Inn, and that process has already begun. They agreed to beautify the front parcel where the building is located to the road frontage until such time a plan for that parcel is developed. However, they also approved a new lease agreement for the 2 rear parcels to PRI 10 with various stipulations. The new lease is a 5-year agreement with 3 5-year renewal options. PRI 10 will pay approximately $103,000 a year. I attended the hearing and testified against renewing the lease with what I referred to as a bad tenant that simply did not live up to the terms of the agreement. Steve Ferrandi also attended that meeting, and that's where it stands right now. Just wanted to give some people the facts that don't know about them in the public. Last week, we had an open house and a work session at the old library located at 35 Kingstown Road. The work session was to seek public input on the future of the structure and parcel. Some town staff previously submitted some of their suggestions to me, which I shared with the council, and they were shared at the work session with the public. And the public had an opportunity to make some of their own suggestions. The meeting was not a decision-making meeting, but an informational input-seeking meeting, and we always welcome suggestions from the public or interested parties. If they come through me, I will share them with the council. Budget preparation. I recently submitted the capital improvement plan to the town council on February 22nd, 1 week prior to the due date of February 29th. The operating budget should be in your hands by March 15th. Staff have been working diligently on this project. 4th of July fireworks. They will actually happen on the 3rd, with a rain date of the 14th, subject to town council approval. The barge company was unavailable to handle the town's request for the 7th as a rain date, and hopefully we won't even need to do that. I'm assuming they have, obviously other obligations because there's a limited number of barge companies. Every once in a while, I like to throw some kudos out to staff that some things go overlooked. Miss Patty Rosa, my assistant and the HR manager, she's been collecting food items for more than 11 years from town staff and visitors. Every week, she drops these items at the Johnny Cake Center, a fact that not everyone knows. They see the box in the office. Some ask, some don't. But what a kind project, and the staff that support her efforts for this worthy project, as do some of the visitors and retired members. And I'd like to thank Patty for that, and it's just a kind gesture. I'm going to ask Dan to put a photograph up behind me. I sent it to the council on Friday. We call it the lady on the seawall. If you look at the picture, we don't know the history behind this. We think it's somewhere in the vicinity around World War II. But if you know anything about this, please contact Miss Patty Rosa at extension 654 at Town Hall. It's interesting because it's the curve of the seawall. You can see a chain link fence with barbed wire on top of it, and as the woman's sitting there posing. So if anyone knows anything about it, we'd appreciate it if you'd share it with us, and then maybe we can share it with the Historical Society as well. There might be a history behind it. And that's it for now. Thank you.
Thanks.
May I ask Mr. Tiernick one question?
Sure.
Could you please follow up with, speaking of the seawall, there's been a lot of chatter on social media regarding the parking signs on the seawall. And I thought it'd be a good idea for you to reiterate your comments from last meeting where you spoke about how that is not going to be true. Could you?
I won't get into extensive detail on it again because we're still dealing with the State Traffic Commission, but there's never been any discussion about putting excessive signage or 129 signs on the seawall. We were going to position signs on the west side of Ocean Road to indicate both sides, a sign at the south and north end of the seawall, and perhaps utilize the seasonal trash receptacles to emblazon the simple sign upon those. But it's not final yet until we finish up with the state.
So the Photoshop signs that are very large, quite a few of them on the wall, that's what some people call fake news?
I don't engage in any social media. I think it's a waste of my time. But people have shared them with me. And no, there's been no plan to do any of that, or parking meters or paid parking or anything like that.
And one last question. The council voted on having the parking, 3-hour parking last fall. Since that vote, have there been any other votes that would then say the council is dialing back on the amount of seawall signs? Has that been the last vote for the council? Maybe that's a better vote for our...
I'm sorry,
Well,
I'm not sure of the question.
So the question is basically what the Post is alleging is that this town council has dialed back on the amount of seawall signs because of the amount of phone calls and Facebook posts that have been up. So I just want to qualify that there has been no other vote on this. The vote was in the fall to go ahead with the process.
There's been no change in what I've been stating to the council about the intent, but the council has not contacted me asking me to dial anything back. And
Okay.
I just explained the limited process that we plan to impose when it's completed. But no, we haven't dialed anything back. In fact, it's been pretty simple and from the beginning.
Just trying to clear up the miscommunication that's out there on social media that's causing people to not have the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, Councilor Kopech wanted to also make an announcement about an recent event, so I'm going to turn it over to her.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we had a really lovely event at the library last Saturday called Stone Soup, and what that is an opportunity for our area vendors to supply soup and sometimes bread, and I think there were all kinds of other things, to folks who came in to, and the price of admission was to bring some kind of canned food or food for the St. Peter's Pantry, so it's kind of like an addendum to what Patty does. And I also wanted to thank Chief Partington, who has been the reader of it's a lovely book, Stone Soup, for the last at least 8 years. We couldn't decide if it was 10, but it was a lot of years. And that was my first time getting to read it, and it was a great deal of fun. So they are accepting donations at the library for St. Peter's right through the rest of this week. So if you have a can of soup that you don't want to drink, you don't want to eat, or you have anything that would be a lovely thing to bring to people who are in need, feel free to drop it off at the library. Thank you.
Thank you. And now in the last part of our announcements presentations, we do have our housing study and needs assessment that will be presented by Mr. Michael Crane of Crane Associates. I'm going to call Mr. DeLuca up to just give a brief introduction on this, and then we will hear from Mr. Crane. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President, members of the council. Just briefly to give you a background on this and to refresh all of our memories, in September of 2022, the council voted to authorize the staff, town manager, to solicit consultants to do a housing study of the town and to assess market forces in play. We put together an RFP later that fall and sent it out. Mr. Crane of Crane Associates, he's the principal in Crane Associates, was the selected respondent, and we interviewed him in December of 2022 and put him under contract early in 2023. He initiated his work by doing a great deal of background study, which he will be telling you about shortly. Then we had a kickoff meeting with the Affordable Housing Collaborative in May, at which 2 of our planning board members also attended. And that group became a working group to assist Mr. Crane throughout his study, analysis, and final drafting. Mr. Crane generated an in-depth analysis. He's written a full report. I received that report just before the holidays, and then through a few revisions, got the final report late in January. So tonight, Mr. Crane is going to present a summary of his final report. You all have a copy of the executive summary before you. I have extra copies on the desk on the staff desk that I will put out for members of the public. So without any further delay, I'd like to have Michael Crane come up.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Crane.
Thanks, Michael. The right button is advanced.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me. Again, as Mike said, I am Michael Crane, the owner of Crane Associates. We did this work with a long-term partner of mine, Economic and Policy Resources. They do a lot of economic analysis, and we work together. I'm usually the guy on the ground that goes down to the fishing piers and talks to the folks and in the bars and down on the streets and any committees and business people and wherever it may be to gain primary data is what we call it. And that gets compiled with a long set of analysis that is in a report that you have that's about 70 pages long. You're about to get the executive summary of the executive summary in the interest of time. So I will breeze over the detailed data. Be confident that your staff and committees have vetted it very well, and we'll get right into the recommendations. So what we really want to do is I want to point out the major challenges for housing that are unique to Narragansett, okay? I mean, everyone has housing challenges, but there's something unique about Narragansett I need to bring up because that drives the recommendations. I'll define what affordable housing is for you, for your town, not just all of the state or the country, and provide you with some recommendations. So your unique challenges to Narragansett is a three-pronged set of lightning bolts here. First of all, you have a town of 16,000 people, and half of them are college students. Okay, you can't find a town like that very much. This is very unique for you. Second of all, the college students generate a demand for rentals far beyond what you would expect a town to have of 16,000 people. You combine that with your vacation rentals because you're in a beautiful place on the ocean. It generates, as you always have, a traditional summer vacation. But with the advent of Airbnb, you have this whole different dynamic now that's started in the last 10 years or so with the beginning of Airbnb. And you combine that finally with household incomes. Household incomes are generally greater than, you have a large percentage of households over $200,000 of household income. That's also unusual. The median household income is 10% higher than the state and 21% higher than the nation. So you combine all those things and you have a very unique housing dynamic in Narragansett. I wanted to point out the college student situation. You have a total of 2,236 rental units. Okay. Now, right now, 29% of them are being rented by your year-round residents. Okay, less than 30%. 70% are rented by college students or vacation rentals alone. I have one, the row there called college academic year only, 389 units or 17% of your total stock is being rented by college students only. Remember that number a few slides down. Now, I wanted to point out that if you magically removed University of Rhode Island, not that it's a good idea, okay? They're an important employer, and they do a lot for you. But it's important to remove them theoretically to see what would happen. If you removed, put University of Rhode Island way up on the northern border, for example, you wouldn't have it there. You would have 1,100 new rental units, or you would have 1,100 rental units for full-time residents, and that's your demand. You would have no shortage. You have, so you would have 380 of those for low and moderate income housing. If you put 380 of those for LMI populations, you would meet the state's requirement of 10%. So just theoretically getting rid of the University of Rhode Island, which is not possible, but still, it demonstrates the impact that the university has on your challenge. Now, there's some benefits, a lot of benefits, but still, we need to recognize that. Second of all, we analyzed what is affordable. We defined affordable. So when you define affordable housing, you want to say, well, how much should I be spending on housing? And that's a national standard. We use 30% of your household income as affordable. If you're spending more than 30% of your household income on housing, shelter, rent or mortgage and utilities, taxes, utilities and insurance. If you're spending more than 30% of that of your household income, then you are in unaffordable housing. And if you're spending less, then you can afford your house. So that's the standard we use. What is the median household income for homeowners in Narragansett? We separated it out between homeowners and renters. Homeowners have higher household incomes, so what are they spending? Follow me along on the third from the right, the second from the right, the 100% column. So the median household income for Narragansett homeowners is $113,000. In today's housing market, the interest rates are 6.5%, say. It's moving rapidly, but when I did that, it's 6.5%. If you go out and shop around for a house, you have to put down, say, 5%. That's about the minimum. So you can afford, what the bank will say is, okay, give us 5% down, and we'll give you a mortgage for $2,034. That's your 30%. That's what the bank is going to do because they use 30% also. So at 30% of your income, your affordable mortgage is $320,000. That's the fourth row on the column, second from the right. $320,000, because you put 5% down, an affordable house price, the sale price, will be $337,256. That's your affordable house price. The median house price in Narragansett is $667,000. So you have the median house mortgage would be $4,000. So basically, you need two people earning that amount of money to be able to afford a house in your home, a Narragansett homeowner. So as the bullet points show down, you have about a $2,000 gap or a $326,000, $29,000 gap in the house price. A monthly mortgage of $1,989. People even earning 120% of the median on the far right column. people earning $135,000 a year aren't even close to being in affordable housing. That's how drastic the situation is in Narragansett. So how much would you need to afford a house? This last bullet point there, the purchase of a median price house in Narragansett would need to have a household income of $195,000 a year to afford a house to pay, 30%. So that's how much you need in order to pay 30% of your income, $195,000. So how many people are in unaffordable housing? This is what we need to also figure out for Narragansett. So can everybody there afford their house or not? How many people are paying more than 30% of your income? We do that analysis, and it comes out the bottom right, far right corner, 1,236 units are occupied by those who can't afford it. In other words, 26% of your population are in housing that's housing cost stressed. They're paying too much, 26% of your population. 1,263 units. That is your gap, and that is your target. Now, we do the same thing for renters. So we don't bunch renters and homeowners together because it's different quantities. You could see the annual household income of a renter is $45,000. And so their affordable rent is in bold there, on the bold row. If you're at 100% of the median, it's $1,126 for rent. The median gross is $1,500. You have a gap of about $400. So renters' gap is actually smaller than the homeowners. For renters, there is the number of rental units that are in housing cost stressed households is 404. So that's 18% of your population is paying too much, of your renters are paying too much. So you're short 404 units, you're short 1,200 units of a homeowner, and you're short 404 units of rental units. Remember 400? Remember 18%? Yeah. So recommendation number one, adopt a housing infill plan. There's a lot of lots, there's a lot of different properties around town that can be used in different ways to increase density. And a couple of the recommendations do all of the same thing in the effect of putting more units on existing lots.
Mr. Crane, may I interrupt you? So we have to go to, at 7:30, we have to go to public hearing. Really have been anticipating this report and your presentation. So if you, would you be able to present after we close the public hearing?
Oh, okay.
Okay, all right. So we'll call you back up, and then so that if the council has any questions, we can also ask you. So appreciate that. Okay, so at this time, it is 7:30. We need to move on to the public hearing decision portion of our meeting. The first item is a motion to schedule a public hearing on March 18th, 2024, on amendment of Chapter 70 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Taxation and Finance, specifically Section 7-04, entitled Compliance with State Law.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next up is a motion to schedule a public hearing on April 15th, 2024, on an ordinance and amendment of Appendix A of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Zoning, and refer the matter to the Planning Board for review and recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, we have a motion to open and hold a public hearing on the application of the Market at Gansett Rails LLC, doing business as Boone Street Market, for a new Class B victualler alcoholic beverage license at Assessor's Plat D, Lot 221, 145 Boone Street, Narragansett, Rhode Island.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. So just to give a little background on this, and I'll call up the applicant. So the applicant, John McGreen Esquire, on behalf of his client, the Market at Gansett Rail LLC, doing business as Boone Street Market, is seeking a new Class B victualler alcoholic beverage license at Boone Street Market, located at 145 Boone Street, Narragansett, Rhode Island. No alcohol license has been previously issued at this location. Therefore, a special use permit is required. On January 18th, 2024, Narragansett Pure Railroad LLC, owner of 145 Boone Street, received final approval from the Zoning Board of Review for a special use permit to allow the sale of alcohol in conjunction with the service of food. Since this is a new license, a butter notification of the public hearing is required in accordance with Rhode Island General Laws 3-5-17. Notice of the hearing must be given by newspaper advertisement and by direct mail to all property owners within 200 feet of the business seeking the license to allow remonstrance to be heard. Currently, there are 21 active Class B victualling licenses in Narragansett. Approval of this license would bring the total to 22.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, Jack McGreen for the applicant. The applicant is Market at Gansett Rail LLC. That's a Rhode Island limited liability company. The property is located at 145 Boone Street and identified as Plat D, Lot 221. It's located in a BB General Business Zone District, which is the old train station and the laundromat, if familiar with where that's located. We did obtain, like you said, a zoning board approval for a special use permit under section 5814 of the use code to operate a restaurant with a full-service Class B liquor license. I have with me Lindsay Holmes. Lindsay, you want to come up? And she's going to tell you what her vision is for this property. I know some of you know her. She was here last year getting approval for the Surf Shack. And I'll have her step up and give you a little background. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter now hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state and spell your full name for the record.
Lindsay Holmes, Lindsay. My last name is spelled Holmes.
Lindsay, will you just give the council your background in the restaurant business?
Absolutely. I have a little blurb first, if you don't mind placating me. It's been a long time coming.
She's the best witness to have, by the way.
You say that now. Good evening. After 4 years working to restore the old train station on Boone Street, it is an honor to be before you. But before I dive into the nuts and bolts of the business plan, I'm going to make my wife and my entire team a little bit nervous and do something that's kind of out of character for me prior to my normal business pitch. For those of you that don't know me, or more succinctly, those who are questioning my motives or my integrity, let me introduce myself. My name is Lindsay Holmes, and I am a lifelong, year-round Narragansett local. I was raised by locals. My father's lineage actually dates back to the 1700s when Narragansett was still a part of SK. My mom was a waitress, my dad was in the Coast Guard. They worked themselves up through the restaurant industry ranks to eventually become owners of numerous South County restaurants. I've lived in yearly rentals in various neighborhoods in Narragansett my entire life. I lived the housing crisis, which we were just kind of diving into, and I think making every local stomach turn with those numbers. I sat around the dinner table and heard my parents talk about liquor licenses and how difficult they were to get, parking variances. Parking's been an issue and, a hot button issue in Narragansett since I can remember. Sound ordinances, special use permits. I grew up just hearing these conversations with my parents. I was woken up by college parties as a teen next door. I am not an out-of-towner with deep pockets. I take exception to that. I am a local who sees no better investment than this community that I have called home for 40 years. This is my home. I went to the Growing Child as a baby. I remember a Pier Marketplace that thrived. I remember begging my mom to drop me off in town so I could eat pizza and drink slushies at Pit and Patio, so I could watch movies at the movie theater, so I could get penny candy at Papa's. This isn't some pipe dream of mine. This is a return to the town that I grew up loving. The betterment of this community and the revitalization of not only the train station on Boone Street, but the pier is the proverbial hill I will die on. It means more to me than I have words. While I welcome the cooperation and the feedback of every single resident that I am here to serve, I will not be misrepresented or have my investments dirtied by those that wish to further not only drive this community, but the restaurant community in South County further into the ground. My children deserve better. My future grandchildren deserve better. They deserve a pier that I grew up in. So with all of that being said, I would love not only to present to the council before me, but to everybody behind me, the vision that we have for the commercial space at 145 Boone Street. The vision of this space sprung from a part of us as an ownership team that wanted to turn every square inch of this building over to the community. And with a traditional restaurant approach, a large portion of your square footage has to just be behind closed doors to a traditional back of the house kitchen. So that's where we ended up coming up with this 6 kitchen. Can we get some specs going up on here? You don't have?
No, only zoning.
Oh, only zoning. All right, so we don't need pictures. Though that's throwing me for a loop. So this 6 open air kitchen approach that we're taking. There is going to be no square footage of the train station besides a very small 12 by 12 back of the house, which is pretty much to store mechanicals, ice cream machine and things of the sort. So when you walk down the main part of the market, it is flanked now by 6 open air kitchens that will be run as one cohesive restaurant, but will give you a variety of menu options as opposed to just one cuisine choice. Like for example, on Narragansett Ave, traditional restaurant, one cuisine theme. At the Boone Street Market, we're gonna have a variety of different cuisines that are gonna be offered. There's 2 bars on the facility. One is towards the back of the building, the west side, if you will, which is actually all sprang from the original ticket window. So when you would come down the tracks way back when, you would punch your ticket to get on the train right at this ticket window. That has been, restored and is now, we dub that back bar the ticket bar. There is an opposite bar on the Boone Street end, so towards the east elevation of the building. And that was really sprang from, again, wanting to open up the entire building from east to west. So we created this indoor-outdoor vibe on this bar where we have these big accordion windows so you can sit. And if I was the bartender and Iwa, you are sitting on the outside Boone Street bar, behind me, you could see the entire length of the building, which was very important for all of us to be able to, like I said, to really showcase every square inch of the building. One of the biggest, I would say, working changes that we've had from our original idea and to where we are when we are before you today was that little stretch in the front of Boone Street. The plot is very tight, so the building is not far from the street in that one spot there. So through working with Mike DeLuca at planning, Wayne with the building department, we've developed and are currently constructing this fence that will not only serve as a very strong ironclad boundary for our liquor license, but will also keep safe boundary from oncoming traffic and from pedestrians that are walking by. That wall has been constructed with 6x6 pressure-treated bollards that are down into 3 feet of concrete and are placed every 48 inches. It will be wrapped in cedar to kind of mimic the original facade of the building, and will have a plantable top to kind of add to the beautification on Boone Street, which I know is near and dear to Mr. DeLuca's heart, and ours as well.
What about like seating and tables?
So now that I've kind of covered the east and the west end, I'm gonna kind of go from the north and south elevations of the building. So the south elevation, where the train tracks used to come through originally, we have a beautiful back patio. Again, through some working with the zoning department, the planning department, we have a 6-foot vegetative buffer and a 4-foot path of emergency egress. And then we have a stockade cedar fence. On the other side of the stockade cedar fence, we have constructed a beautiful patio, which will have 4 built-in booths with fire pit tables. And there's also a series of 6 tables that is under our large soffit that we have restored. Also on that patio, we have a stage planned for outdoor music and 4 cornhole boards, for just some recreational play on that back patio as well. Now back onto the front patio, I discussed the wall, but I didn't really discuss the changes that were made to the seating plan originally for that area. Our first seating plan was to have a series of tables in that front area. And through talks with different town officials, different residents who were having concerns about that seating, those tables have been removed, and we just have one seating area for those that are just waiting to get a seat at the bar, they're waiting for their burger to finish cooking, or they're waiting for a table to open up in the back patio. So we really did make a lot of changes based on a lot of community feedback for that front area. I know it's a cause of concern for a lot of people. Our proximity to the playground has been brought up numerous times. So through adhering to a normal alcohol control plan, a lot of those concerns are kind of inherently addressed through that process. But the alterations to the construction of that fence and to our seating plan really was a meeting of the minds, so we could kind of get ahead of a lot of these concerns. We also, on the north side of the building, which is where you kind of pull into the driveway, we also have a series of tables under the soffit on that elevation as well. In the interior, there is also one additional, when I was referencing the ticket bar, we also have plans for an indoor stage within that ticket area, that ticket window area for music in the winter months. There is also, you might see before you or have seen, through planning or zoning, that we have 2 different plans, if you will. We, I think, are the only restaurant in town that is presented a winter plan and a summer plan. Again, it was something that came up with the very hotly contested parking variance that I asked for, and trying to illustrate how our seating and our occupants, really do ebb and flow with the season. So one change that we're making from the interior of the market in the off months is that we are actually deconstructing 2 of our kitchen stalls. We call them on the team, we call them convertible stalls, to make way for additional interior seating. And we feel as though the menu items that are being offered in those stalls in the summer months can just be absorbed by the neighboring stalls in the winter months. So these are some kind of unique operational changes that we've made. And I think that that plat is just very unique as to, the shape of it, my residential abutters, just the proximity to the playground. So I think there's been a lot of nuances there that I really do appreciate everybody on the town level that's helped us as an ownership team really navigate that. We also have 2 other initiatives that are unique to our team. I believe all of you were sitting before me when I went through this on Gansett Ave, but I will remind you. At 83 Narragansett Ave, one of our conditions of our liquor license were to have a program called Noise Aware. Noise Aware is sound monitoring for residential or commercial properties, and it puts sound monitors at locations of your choosing on the periphery of your property. It's all all of the information is sent to management, ownership, and it gives you live decibel readings all around your property. You can set thresholds, so when it's starting to get loud, management can be notified and intervene. We're doing the same thing on Boone Street. I am very proud to stand before you and say I did not get one sound complaint on Gansett Ave. And my neighbors are within stone's throw. So I think that that is very much a testament not only to our staff and our operating policies, but also to the technologies that we're choosing to implement. Another one that's kind of along the same lines of maximizing technologies to kind of get ahead of some of these potential problems. We're also using a software called Patron Scan, which is equivalent to ID scanner like you would see at the airport, for example, like when TSA goes and scans your passport to verify you are who you say you are. I feel like so often technology is used kind of against us in the industry, and we're trying to kind of change that paradigm a little bit and trying to get ahead of some of these fake IDs that are, getting harder and harder to spot. So Patron ID can also provide us with security questions if there's any question as to the validity of someone's identification. So those 2 items have actually, since we were at planning and zoning, those 2 items have been added into our alcohol control plan. And those are 2 things that we are more than willing as an ownership team to have those conditions placed on our license as well. Both of which we're new to Patron Scan, but Noise Aware is something that I have the most confidence in and really do want to continue to utilize moving forward. One difference on Boone Street is that we are asking the council for live music. My wife, Christina, is actually a touring musician. We didn't feel on Gansett Avenue that that was an appropriate business model for live music, particularly with this new change there. We were trying to really earn the trust of our neighbors there. But it's something that we really do feel very strongly about on Boone Street. We also do have the residential units above on Boone Street that we have to stay mindful of. So we are very much motivated by that added layer of our business on Boone Street to make sure that sound is staying within, controlled decibels. Jack's giving me notes.
The speaker system, the control?
Yes, so our entire building, we actually have South County Sound and Video there, South County Sound and Audio there this whole week that is installing a sound system within. So we have speakers within the market, and we have speakers on the soffit of the building as well, which will all be controlled by a manager's iPad for music and for, if we are playing a football game or URIPC game, we can also have that sound broadcast through those speakers as well. It is an initiative of ours to have our live music also played through those speakers so we can very readily adjust and control sound based on that manager's iPad that controls the entire house. We feel that is a better option than having amplified music coming from the stage itself. That way, the stage location doesn't really dictate where our sound is being streamed. It is our speaker location that would do that for us. So again, we feel like those different changes are going to equip us more readily than the next business to control and monitor sound.
So the musician is not controlling the sound?
Correct, we are, yes. We can also control it with zones, which I think is lovely from not just ownership or management standpoint, but from a patron standpoint as well. So if you come in, it's not going to be live music overtaking every area of the market. Say somebody is in for the URI PC game, we can control and direct the sound for one area and leave it undisturbed for another area, for example. So we've really worked really hard with, and we were so happy to find a local company to come in, and we really have exhausted all of our local subcontractors and local small businesses that we've been partnering with for close to 4 years now on Boone Street. So they've been very helpful and mindful of these different, potential sound issues. Hours of operation. Oh, again, near and dear to my heart. So I feel like there is this very big stigma in the restaurant scene that if you're open late, that you are marketing yourself to a certain crowd. Obviously, in Narragansett, that crowd is labeled the college kids. We have a different industry perspective on that. We want to stay open late. In a BB zone, I can stay open until 1 if you so tell me. So my goal is to be open till 1 a.m., 7 days a week, 365 days a year, not to placate the URI crowd, but to serve those who are serving us all day long. Now, whether that's our local police force that changes shifts at 11 o'clock, our fire department that has that same change of shift, the nurses and the doctors at South County, who anybody that's in the healthcare field knows they don't even get a dinner break. So they leave the hospital hungry, wanting a beer and a burger, and they have nowhere to go. They have very few places to go at that hour. So another big population that I feel obviously very compelled to serve is the restaurant industry workforce. They're getting out. If their restaurant is out at 10 o'clock, where are they going? Where are the chefs that have been cooking for us all day going to eat? Where are the bartenders that have been serving us drinks all day? Where are they gonna go and sit down and get to have a drink? So we feel as though providing a safe place for those hours of operation is long overdue, particularly on Boone Street. How am I doing, Jack?
You've covered
Yeah.
everything. Why don't we open it up?
And we also have all the information when you were talking about the plan. So we have all that in our agenda packets, and we've all, hopefully we've all reviewed them.
Yeah,
So
I'm sorry. I'm just used to being able to conceptualize what's going on.
So basically, if I think, I don't know if do you have anything further to add? I think
I
it's
won't
you've
read
kind
into
of.
the record, but I did submit 4 letters of recommendation from
Yep.
abutting landowners.
Okay, perfect. Any questions from the council? Any concerns? Anyone?
I don't have concerns, but I have one concern, but I have questions. Steve and I, thank you so much, Lindsay, for hosting us on Saturday. It was
Absolutely.
great to actually walk through it and see it, and the
Long
workmanship
overdue.
is beautiful,
Thank you.
absolutely beautiful, and very excited about the project. But one thing that you told us that you haven't told the rest of the members here, could you talk a little bit more about that front part of the bar? You're going to have someone near the street.
Oh, yes. If I had my plans, I would have been triggered to, it's also part of the alcohol control plan.
Yes.
So it's kind of a catch-22. I need to be able to maintain this path of travel to get out from to get to or from the front little Boone Street patio area. It is actually my handicap path of egress, which we discussed on Saturday. It leaves this point of vulnerability, or the way I look at it operationally, this opportunity where we'll have a host stand there, so we can kind of not only direct people to either entrance to the market or to get into that part of the patio, but it also serves as a barrier for our alcohol control plan. So that really is a crucial kind of checkpoint, if you will. And when you pull into the property, you're going to be honestly like driving past this person. So I think it's a really great spot to make sure that nobody is leaving that area and taking liquor off the property. I think any restaurant that has that close of, an entryway, you have to make sure operationally that you're doing your due diligence to make sure no one's taking alcohol off the property.
So between that and the fencing, there is no way anybody could just casually
No way
walk in?
anybody would be able to get through. No.
My second question is, could you elaborate a little bit more on the bands? We're not talking about having drum sets out there.
Oh, no.
What type of music?
Like just like an acoustic single person, maybe one or two people. Really want to give my wife a place to play. No, but just very much just enjoyable music. Nothing that's going to blow anybody out. Everybody's gone to that bar when you just wanted to go and catch up with a girlfriend and have a drink, and now the music's blaring and you can't hear yourself think, and your neighbors are complaining, and it's nothing that we want a part of. But when done right, I think it's a great draw to town. You see in almost every restaurant that does it well, it really does bring this lively nature to the restaurant, and it also brings people in from other towns. There are like tons of people that just go from, they have like their little loops that they do, so-and-so plays at George's on Sunday, and so-and-so plays at the Willows on Tuesday. Everybody gets their little spots going, and I think it's a great draw.
Yeah, I think so.
Any other questions?
I have one more, but I need Mr. Tierney. He's always working.
Always talking.
So one thing that we discussed on Saturday was the amount of parking and lack thereof,
Yes.
and the amount of employees you would have there.
Yes.
And I had said to you that I'd be happy to speak with Jim to see if there's maybe a way that the town could work with our school system to see if potentially the buses could be used. Jim's done some preliminary work, so I was going to ask him if he could kind of share a little bit what he's thought about.
Sure. Councilmember Lawler did, Pro Tem, Councilor Lawler did reach out to me about this today. I did speak with Dr. Cummings, the superintendent of the schools, and had discussed this with him. The school department has a transportation division. The employees are allowed to, through approved events, to do transportation if the staff's available. It's not part of their regular job. It's extra work that is paid for by another vendor. It had been explored previously with the cutaway smaller buses and some of the larger buses with the local business men. It was Bob Leonard from the Coast Guard House had reached out to me. He told me that he'd spoken to several of the businesses. It really didn't take off. It was last year and perhaps even the year before. I'm not sure. But the superintendent said he'd be glad to work with us, and I can meet with their transportation director. One of the things that would have to be known is whether the businesses want to contribute to such a program, and we could maybe work with the schools to have the school parking lots in the summer months to be used for parking. But that's all in preliminary stages, but absolutely he said he'd like to work with us on it.
And I see the Chamber of Commerce director in the audience. I'm sure she would be happy to work with the businesses to get them all involved. But it might be a good solution because we all know it's going to be a very attractive place for people to go.
Absolutely, and being, kind of coming up through the restaurant industry, my entire team has their, basis in this industry as well. So all of the owners in the area, it's something that we've already been talking about. It's very cost prohibitive. The reason that the previous trolley service failed, and I'm sure I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know, is because that insurance liability is just so very, very difficult to carry that, make it affordable for families, and still at least just cover your investment, let alone turn any kind of profit.
So this might be a good way that all the area restaurants can work together with us
Absolutely.
and with the chamber and solve it.
And
So
particularly with their locations. And I am very motivated on both properties, because at 83 Gansett Ave, I have the elementary school right there. And then obviously on Boone Street, we are a stone's throw from both the Pierce School and the high school. So I absolutely would love to further, work through that. I actually am even getting some insurance quotes to see hypothetically what that cost would look like if we were to, as an ownership group, pilot some kind of trolley service. I think that it is that other part to the parking crisis in the pier that would really, really speak to the root of the problem. And from a business owner perspective, is the 3-hour time limit going to help or hurt? I don't know. I think the proof is in the pudding. I think for me, it's, like I said, it's one potential piece, but without increasing parking, it's very hard. It feels like it's just this shuffle. So I absolutely would love to continue working on something like that.
It's worth a shot, right? To have to try something.
We are so fortunate in Narragansett to own our own buses. A lot of districts don't have that luxury. And to have those parking lots sit empty all summer long as we are just struggling to find places not only to park as patrons, but as for our workforce.
So we can look into.
It's a big deterrent.
So we'll look into it. It
Oh,
sounds like you'd be happy
absolutely.
to sit with us.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent.
I would love to.
Excellent.
Love to.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other council members have questions?
Oh, yes, I do.
Council Frandy?
Okay, thank you, Eva. I did also visit the site, and it's really nice what you've done over there so far. Some of the things I did observe, there are some challenges to that site, and my initial issue was with the front part of the building. It's very close to Boone Street, and especially, I guess if I get it correctly, and there's a cross street that comes up Congdon, and it's really, you are the buffer right there at the end of that, so you're at a T, and it looks like there's a bar area inside, and there's going to be seating out there, but it actually looks like those seats are primarily right on the sidewalk,
The seating.
and you don't have much room.
The
And
seating's been removed, Councilman. So if you're seeing a plan or a schematic that has tables out there, that is an outdated plan. Through our work with planning and zoning, those tables were removed. You will see a few Adirondack chairs placed around a fire pit table, but other than that, there is no tables and chairs in that area any longer.
So is there service to that patio from that bar on the inside, or you have to?
Yes,
you're
there are
gonna-
8 bar seats on that outside bar.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about,
Oh,
the
yes.
seating,
Oh, I'm
yes,
sorry. I thought
yes.
that you were referencing an old plan because we did have numerous tables out there that were removed. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to be clear.
yeah. And
Lots
it-
of plans circulating for
And
145 Boone Street.
it's kind of at a triangle, and it's
Yes.
really on that, lack of a better term here, the eastern north portion of that is very tight, it looks like. So, I mean, with those bars in there, and that's actually where your driveway is coming in, so it's almost like I wouldn't want to bring a lot of, you have more room to the south end of that, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, if you wanted to put
Yes.
seating, but.
I
So that's my concern with that, about that outdoor seating, and it doesn't even really look like there's much of a sidewalk. It'll be your building right to the edge, and then the curbing, from what I
So-
can see.
thank you for
So I don't know
referencing-
where that property line is,
Yes.
is Boone Street going to have a sidewalk, or like a lot of the other restaurants
So
also
we're
have?
working with, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. We are working with DPW to get, so the old use of that building used to have, when it was a laundromat, the wash tub, people used to pull right up. That's why it's actually like a curb cut right there. So we have, and this was another thing that came up through planning, zoning, different meetings with people in town, is to have that sidewalk re-poured. It was kind of one of these give backs from a parking perspective, because if we go ahead and just relinquish that and have that sidewalk re-poured, we actually get 3 more on-street parking spots on Boone Street, which to me is just the best thing ever.
Yes.
But also, what it does is that sidewalk will give a little bit of additional buffer. And a lot of the engineering and construction of that wall has all of those things very much in the forefront of our mind while constructing that wall.
It was just very difficult to find a delineation of where your seating and everything else went, and where a sidewalk would start, and then the curb.
Yes.
After that.
Yes.
I don't know if the property line is, it's right up to the edge of your property there, or, I'd like to see at least something, at least a plan for that. part of it, in that front portion, because it is a little tight there.
Yes, I believe in our surveyed plans, not only the site plan, but the business layout in our package, you should see Hercworks Engineering did the plans for the site plans for the property, and you can see all of our property lines outlined on that. And also, I would imagine it's all reflective in our building permits through the town for construction of that wall.
And if you were to go out there today, you'll see the ballards, the 6-foot, the 6x6 ballards.
Yeah, I did see those.
Defines the property line. That's where the property line is, right
And
where
the-
those ballards are. Then there's a sidewalk, then there'll be a curb.
Beyond that, sidewalk
so-
and a curb.
so it's
So right
detail.
now, I do agree with you. Right now,
Yeah.
it seems as though the street comes right up
It's just right there.
to that wall. So, A, because of the shortage of parking on the street, and B, because all of us are viewing that as a potential area of vulnerability. Working with DPW is something that we really want to do to re-pour that sidewalk, even if it's shared cost from ownership, to re-pour that sidewalk, give those 3 parking spots back to Boone Street, and give us a further buffer there. Unfortunately, when you're restoring a train station built in 1896, these property lines and boundaries often, as you all know, can, be problematic. But I am very confident through all of our conversations, and more than confident in Virgilio Builders' motivation as a building owner there, and as our contractor, to ensure that that wall is being constructed in a proper way.
Okay, thank you.
Another question, I know the seating inside is 129, and you're short 15 spaces, I guess, with the upstairs uses of the apartments or Airbnb, whatever you're gonna do, so you're short 15. And from what I can see, the inside is pretty expansive, but I don't necessarily agree with the option of having the 7 days a week right up to 1 o'clock, 10 in the morning to 1 in the evening, especially there's a lot of open area. So to me, it almost could lend itself to be, I don't want to say it's a nightclub because there's food and all of that, but it's got a lot of open area too in the back and all. And, with the music, I think it could bring something, maybe lend itself to a little more than just having, maybe a small sandwich but more of like an entertainment venue than a restaurant, like a big open area.
No,
So,
I understand
so
those concerns.
that's the only thing I can see. I'm really not in favor of having it go to 1 o'clock every night. I mean, especially on that part of Boone Street, it's really on the southern end. Even the northern end, there's PJ's Pub. It's for lack of a better word, it's a little more commercial, but that butts right up against a residential area. It's Narragansett. I mean, you can't have a commercial property and be able to throw a rock and hit a residential home near it, That's some of the constraints. So I'm just wondering if it's needed to the 1 a.m. every night, if there would be a consideration of, maybe cutting the music off at a certain time, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, like you did at the other
I am
the other place.
more than
Or it's
willing.
at weekends only, something like that, to try it?
I am more than willing to absorb any recommendations for limitations on live music. I think one thing operationally that we have invested a fair amount of money and a lot of energy into is responsibly staying open until that hour. One great thing about the way that the building is constructed is that we kind of have this natural barrier to the sound with this big soffit that overhangs 10 feet out, these tall side elevation walls of the train station, and then the stockade fence that we have constructed along our residential abutter. Not to continue to put all my cards in this basket, but I really do feel it's where Noise Aware really helps us in identifying those areas. Operationally, I am really pushing for that 1 a.m. closure, but from a live music perspective, I couldn't agree more. I think it's way more realistic to limit live music until 9 o'clock or whatever the council seems fit. I also think there's a lot of peace of mind in knowing that this license is something that is renewable every year. And, you know, you can bring me before you on cause. If any of my systems are to fail, you have every right to drag me right here and hold me to account. And then I think my final reminder to the council is that of our residential units above. So similarly on Narragansett Ave with the in-rooms, we have that obligation to our tenants above to ensure that this doesn't turn into that nightclub vibe as we stay open. We really want to serve our service industry folks.
Quick question. I don't know, Janet, Jim, Mike. Trio has live music, and I believe the Mexican restaurant, I don't know its name, have live music. What time do they end during the week and the weekends? Do we know offhand? 10? 10 o'clock? Maybe that's something that we might find reasonable to have be the same as the other outdoor music.
I actually don't mind them just going to plan and then reassessing, so that's kind of where I'm like leaning, but I would.
I don't think it's unreasonable. I mean, it's, you know, if you look at it, it says 129 seating capacity. Is there any, does that include all the standing capacity too, or is there more standing capacity between the patio outside? It seems like you could get more than 129 people in there.
My final capacity numbers will come from Kevin Tuttle, not from any
So
seating,
do we know those?
seating plan.
Do we know what
we
the?
were waiting for those numbers to come back in last time.
Yeah.
Jack checked with Kevin. Again, Kevin's been at the property twice this week alone. He is very, very familiar with what's going on there.
That's one of the actually conditions, so, right, it's listed in the conditions.
So
But we don't have
those, and what happens, just to give you like a little inside info on what happens, if I start to manipulate my occupancy numbers by removing tables, what then happens is, and I believe it's on Wayne who does this, it then converts not to a seat capacity number, but a square footage of occupied space. So it's one person for every square feet. If I was to just say, I don't want any tables in my restaurant.
Right, but shouldn't we know those now when we're ready to either permit this to go forward or not? Shouldn't we have
our
available?
the occupancy numbers you do have.
Yeah, I do have that, the 129 seating.
Yes.
And I just wanted to make sure if there was a standing capacity different from that
No.
says seating.
No, so
that's total.
it is my choice, I guess we could use the words, to use either that standing capacity algorithm or a table and chair occupancy algorithm. And that's what we, through, numerous talks with planning and zoning and everybody else, we arrived at those occupancy numbers based on tables and chairs, which is what arrived us at our parking numbers for zoning.
Yeah, well, I'd be in favor of limiting some of the music into the evening, 10 p.m., and then, even the 1 a.m. closings, and for the weekends maybe, but not the rest of the week.
Thank you. So I'm actually going to go to the public. I see a lot of people in support. So is there anyone in opposition to this license out there that would like to testify? I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone in opposition. So, okay, a discussion on the council. So anyone else wishing to comment from the public? Dr. Alba.
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter now in hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name for me, please.
Dr. Albert Alba, Dr. Albert, Albert, Alba, Alba, Jr. 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, that's Narragansett, Rhode Island, 02882. So, first of all, I would like to, congratulate the owners, of their establishment, and I do wish them well on their new business. They've shown they have entrepreneurial skills and hospitality skills, so we should very much support that. I know parking could be a concern, so, I was even thinking of somehow maybe reconsidering having maybe a trolleys type system in there, I guess, not only for their business, but for other businesses. If we do have time parking limitations of 3-hour parking, well, maybe a trolley system for the area restaurants, that might be a good thing to consider. We can always look into that. I know the Narragansett Chamber looked into that in the past. And I do agree, Council Ferrandi did bring up some good points. I am pro-business, but we also want to consider the neighborhood and the neighbors. She is using due diligence, and she did say, we can always, there's going to be a 1-year review. And I think what we should do is, I also believe in being equitable and fair. So obviously, if Trios, whatever we've established for Trios and the other restaurants, I know it's not going to be Trios, they're going to be adjusting it down the road, but I think we should have consistency. So if Trios is allowed to have a band at X amount of certain hour, well then it should be, I think, a level playing field for everyone, just to be fair. And we do have to be considerate of our neighbors, and I know she's very mindful. She's going to have these high-tech, devices out there to monitor. So I do respect that greatly. But I also feel, some concerns, as Councilman Ferrandi mentioned, in regards to the neighbors. And I don't know if the neighbors in that area or the abutting area, if they're invited, saying, this is a proposal, this is what's going to happen. And maybe none of them will have any issues with that, But I think for the town to do due diligence too, we can maybe send out a little mailing to all the abutting neighbors in that area and get their feedback too. Because I believe after everyone reviews the owner's record, and they have a stellar record, I think that they are going to be supportive of this, and I think we should be, but we also want to make sure that, we're mindful of all of our neighbors. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to comment?
Council President,
Yes.
I made an error. The trio is till 11.
Okay, trio is till 11. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Motion by Council Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, we have a motion to approve the application from the market at Gansett Rail LLC, doing business as Boone Street Market, for a Class B victualler alcoholic beverage license at Assessor's Plat D, Lot 221, 145 Boone Street, Narragansett, Rhode Island, subject to restrictions listed in the special use permit, as well as state and local regulations.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion from the council?
I'd like to ask if the applicant would volunteer to cut the music off at 11 p.m. and consider the closing time of during the week, not at 1 a.m.
My client
11
agrees to
a.m.
that restriction.
I 1,000% agree
Okay.
to the modification of the outdoor music, live music hours. I would be remiss if I didn't continue to push and pitch for a 1 a.m. closure. And doing so 7 days a week. Also, just, again, if my motivations for staying open that late are what they are in being able to provide a safe haven, a place for industry people, our service men and women, our healthcare professionals. Their weekends aren't what our weekends are. So sometimes, if somebody's getting off at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday or midnight on a Wednesday, I want to be able to, to serve that population
Thank
and serve that population respectfully and responsibly.
Yeah, I think right now, so so you would just like to amend, you're requesting an amendment to close on
The music
11,
at 11,
not
yeah.
close, stay up until 1. I support that, by the way, 7 days a week.
Can I ask you- can I-
With 11 a.m.
Can I ask you, Attorney, one question? The question was just brought up about abutters. There wasn't a butter notification process. Can you please explain that so that everyone knows that the neighbors did have a chance to speak?
Yes, so by law, they have to be, anybody that's in 200 feet of the property has to be notified of our request to the council, which gives them, ample opportunity to pen letters, to come in support or opposition. It's actually a part of our doneness review that has to be completed prior to me standing before you.
And just to make your attorney do a little work tonight, did anybody show up for planning or zoning from the neighborhoods at all to voice against this?
No.
Okay,
We
thank
had
you.
5-0 on.
Yeah, it was 4.
I just want to make sure that as far as the
5.
neighborhoods who were noted, did they come and say they didn't? Okay.
Okay, so what I hear from the council, the council for Randy want to make a motion to amend that? To include, just to, is the other, first of all, are the other
the
council
11
members in agreement with having the music stop at 11 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Is that both indoor and outdoor?
Yes.
Yes.
both indoor and outdoor, okay. So, would you like
I'd
a
like
motion
Make a
to?
motion to amend
Yeah,
the approval to the entertainment indoor and outdoor to cease at 11 p.m. every night of the 7 days.
I'll second that.
any discussion with the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No. Now, going back to the main motion as amended, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? None. Motion passes. A motion by Councilor Lawler, the main motion. Councilor Kopic, motion passes 5-0. Okay, so that is the
Congratulations.
end of our public hearing portion. Congratulations. We'll look forward to checking that place out. So, thank you. All right. So, Mr. Crane, I didn't know it was going to take that long. I thank you so much for being patient. And thank you, everybody, for your support of the new business. Give it a minute.
You mean they weren't here for the housing?
Should be.
Boy, I
You know
should
how to
build-
clear a room.
Maybe I should build an affordable bar.
I think so.
Good point.
All right, Mr. Crane, thank you very much for staying. Again, I'm really interested in hearing your recommendations, and we've been really looking forward to hearing your report. So thank you again for being patient and staying. So back to you.
Thank you. There's 8 recommendations. This is the first one. You have a lot of underutilized land. One short analysis that we used was to look at the R10 zone. And you have about 99 lots there that are larger than necessary to put the house on. You could rearrange your zoning to allow additional units on those lots. And that would open up 99 lots just in the R10 zone. You have also additional ability in other areas. Recommendation number 2 is to integrate new legislation in town zoning bylaws. So basically, there's a lot of legislation that came down from the state to open up more affordable housing throughout the state and various municipalities. One of them is H 6058, which talks about inclusionary zoning. This has an opportunity to open up new units. However, as it's written, I don't recommend you adopting it right now, because there's two provisions in it. One is to allow a density bonus, which is the good part. The second part is there's a mandatory 2 market rate housing units for every affordable housing unit produced. So if you are producing 2 market rates for every 1 affordable housing unit rate, and you have another law that requires municipalities to have 10% of their total stock be affordable, you're going to continue to lose ground. And I don't think they really thought about that very well, and I think they should really reconsider that 2 for 1. It's, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and it just doesn't make sense. So the recommendation is to lobby the legislature to change that second provision and then adopt an inclusionary zoning for an incentive. Recommendation number 3 is that there are, during my work with local landowners, it's been noticed that there are people who have properties that can be partnered with nonprofit affordable housing developers. And since this is a private negotiation, those people are not named in the report or will be here, but there is opportunities in Narragansett to partner, to have the town create a partnership between private landlords and nonprofit developers that both can come with certain assets. The nonprofit developers come with the ability to gain housing tax credits, to operate as a nonprofit, to come with labor, to manage properties. The private property owners can come to the table with the property and an incentive for profit. And I think there's opportunity there. So some specific negotiations could be held there. Recommendation number 4, activate your affordable housing trust fund. You have an affordable housing trust fund, just nothing's in it. And if you'd like, I can give you $1 right now.
There's $10 in it.
You got?
There's $10 in it.
Okay, all right. I think Susan's going to put in a little bit.
No, we did at the meeting, we put in 5.
Oh, you did?
A
Okay.
couple
Okay, so
people.
now it's got a little bit of money in it.
Just $10.
After 10 years, it's got $10.
We got some
But,
ideas on that.
So what I think is possible is a loan from your general fund or from the real estate conveyance tax. Last year, you generated $633,000 in 1 year, plus another $395,000. You have almost $1 million just from the real estate conveyance tax. You can take some of that, say you take half of that, and you invest it at 5%. In 3 years, it'll be worth $578,000. In year 3, you make a distribution of $50,000. You keep, and it grows, and then you are able to have $612,000 growing, and it continues to grow like that. Every 3rd year, you make a distribution to an affordable housing project. Each year, it's about $50,000. You can make a distribution in year 3, 7, and 10. The repayments come back, so actually the principal grows more than the scenario that I have there. And also, additional deposits from the transfer tax could help grow this. So this is a very conservative scenario. But with an addition, with an initial loan from the taxpayers, you can create this trust fund, which in 10 years or 15 years, it could be self-sustaining. At any point during that time, the taxpayers need it for an emergency, then you could just take it back. But if they don't, then it creates this housing trust fund, and in 15 years, you return the loan back to the taxpayers anyway. So it gets the ball rolling, it primes the pump, and it eventually starts to grow. In 20 years, you will have the ability to make $50,000 to $100,000 distributions for various affordable housing projects, and they can go towards a lot of different things, anywhere from subsidizing down payments to there's just a lot of things you can do with $50,000. Recommendation 5, engage the University of Rhode Island in developing new housing. Okay, they are, you know, I don't want to disparage the university. I mean, they're a major employer, and it's a very important asset, and you're benefiting from the university in a lot of ways. They educate your people, and they therefore return an educated population, which generates larger amounts of revenue, which is a great thing. So just like any major employer, there's there's a downside to everything, and it would be justified to try to get some sort of project where the university built 400 units. And they could work with a nonprofit housing developer who can access low-income housing tax credits. And the university would be the landowner, and they would build these units. The developer gets the development fees and the builder's profit, plus 30 years of management revenue, while the university retains the property and the asset. The units are retired after 30 years, so they own them outright, which they can, at that point, they can do whatever they want with them. And the town provides a density relief to the project, but it also, with those 400 units, you've now achieved your state mandate of 10% low and moderate income housing. So in a lot of ways, it could be a win-win. It's, again, this situation with the university is unusual, and it's really difficult to imagine a solution to your affordable housing project situation in Narragansett without engaging the university. They have to be part of the solution. Recommendation 6, create some sort of financial incentive to convert summer rentals into year-round rentals. Now, follow me along. I know this is a lot of numbers here, but I created these circles here to try to help you. On a 2-bedroom unit, the net revenue on the upper right, year-round rentals is in blue there, and the red circle, $14,400, is your net annual revenue from an average 2-bedroom unit. That's the revenue, net revenue, $14,000 to the landowner. Okay. A short-term rental on the right, in green there, the short-term rental is for the net annual revenue, because you have 10 weeks and you have larger expenses, is $4,859. So there is no incentive to have short-term rentals if you own a property. You're making more on year-round rentals, a lot more, $9,541 more a year. So it's not the summer rentals that are causing the issue with a shortage of rental units. It's when you add that $4,859 to the rental income that you'll get from students from the 9 months. When you add those two together, you get $15,659. So you're generating more revenue from the two business models, the short-term rental and the students, versus a $14,000 year-round rental from a 12-month rental. So you're earning, $1,259 more. The break-even point, I have it at $1,350, but that's the incentive to make it even. A landowner should be indifferent if they have $1,300 more between on a two-bedroom, on an average two-bedroom unit. Everything is going to be variable depending on the situation, but you have the ability to provide some sort of incentive. If you had an Affordable Housing Trust Fund, you might be able to provide that incentive. There's an opportunity there. There's a lot of details that have to be worked out. Now, this recommendation 7 goes in combination with the first one I just showed you, the number 6, the one I just showed you. This works in concert. Prohibit short-term rentals less than 7 nights. Okay? That's the way your summer rental tradition used to be. Narragansett was like most summer cottage homes where towns where they rented it out for a week, and then the landowner would actually use it also. And when Airbnbs came around, you started to have a lot more short-term rentals. And your length of stay here is on the table on the left there. Your average length of stay is 2 or 3 nights. So 44 plus 9, you have 53% of your short-term rentals are less than 3 nights, or less than 4 nights. Start eliminating that. That's something you can do tomorrow. You start eliminating that, and you have another incentive to move towards an incentive towards converting those units into year-round. So basically, Narragansett has a stock of rentals, and you need to move them back to year-round if you want to create some affordable housing. It also eliminates unfair competition with commercial lodging businesses. So commercial lodging businesses are up against different set of requirements than Airbnb units. So there's a lot of ability to change the market dynamics, and you have it under your control right here. The last recommendation is to allow accessory dwelling units by right. Okay, right now it's a special use permit. Okay. It shouldn't be a special use permit. You just let them build. Let them build an accessory dwelling unit. Right now it's 30. Right now the unit has to be 30% of the primary residence, which is kind of ridiculous. Sorry. It's a little bit too small. I mean, if you have a 1,000 square foot house, you can only build 300 square feet. Okay, you need to loosen that up. A unit by right should be up to almost the same size as the existing unit. maybe just a little bit less. And it should be built, you should be allowed by right. So it's no longer a special use permit, it's permitted. And then you go through the regular permit process, like a regular unit. You could do that tomorrow. And you would also have a lot of people interested in building ADUs. So those are my 8 recommendations in a nutshell. I'm happy to talk about any of them if you'd like.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Crane. That was a great presentation. Thank you again for staying, because I don't think you could have finished that. I was looking at the time like earlier. It was like, I don't think you can do this in 2 minutes when I realized you were going to recommendations. And yeah, I definitely couldn't get through all those 8 in 2 minutes. So thank you. I just have a quick question in regards to number 5, collaborating with the, engaging with the University of Rhode Island. When you talk about that, are you saying building it in Narragansett?
Yes?
Where? Just
don't know.
curious. Okay, yeah. So that was the one question. And the other one, short-term rentals versus the year-round. I would love to see more year-round rentals. With the calculations, the math, like the profitability, were those, where did you get the number? Because I know most people want the short-term because they do charge significant amounts compared to like what a monthly rate would be. And then it pretty much, a lot of it quadrupled. So I was just curious where you got that data. In terms of, summer rental versus year-round.
The cost?
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are advertised prices. And I've interviewed people who rent. And it's a 10-week, revenue versus 52 weeks. So, and there's a lot more expenses. So if you're in the business of property management, those expenses go down a little bit, but so it may be profitable, maybe more profitable for certain individuals, but the expenses are a standard. It's 29%. The expenses, came from interviews with local companies, and it's about 65%. So, that's where I got the numbers, and the revenue. A summer weekly rental for a 2-bedroom is $1,400 on average. So.
Thank you. Yep, I got you.
I would.
So there was, and I do like some of the recommendations that can be done fairly quickly. Obviously, those are great to start the process. Any council members wishing to, any questions? Councilor Ferrandy?
Yeah, I would agree that the maybe on a 2-bedroom it's lower, but I mean I would agree that I know a lot of in particular neighborhood I live in, they're getting at least $3,000, $1,000 a student, and $3,000 a month. That's $27,000 just for the winter, and that's on the low side. Sometimes these houses have 4 and 5 and 6. Maybe not the 2-bedroom example, but I think the profitability of running the short-term rental in the summer and the student in the wintertime could be as much as $40,000 to $75,000, depending on the size of the house. So that's, I think, disincentive for them to do a full-time. But I think your numbers are a little bit low, but maybe it's just for a 2-bedroom, one of the smaller rentals. In any event, you can see it's chewing up all the available housing, and that's what's going. That's why we can't get full-time people to rent. They're just being boxed out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You could be right, the numbers could be a little low, but, you know, I have also the incentive to be not very large. You know, what you're saying is the incentive could be not 1,300, but 5,000 or 6,000. There's probably some opportunity there. There's also companies that are now doing this as a business, identifying summer rentals and bringing them into year-round. I have identified one in the report, full report, for you to, kind of access to.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other council members? Questions? No. All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Crane. Appreciate it, and thank you again for staying longer than you anticipated.
No problem.
Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you. So next, we're going to move on to the open forum public comment portion of the meeting. No, this was just taking we were just getting, it was a presentation. The open forum public comment portion of the meeting, we're just getting to that now. If anyone wishes to speak, I don't know if you have the list still, Mr. Tierney.
There was one person that signed up, Todd Corey, but I believe he was with Lindsay's group.
Okay, great. Dr. Alba?
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. Town manager and I, we attended, and also Councilman Ferrendi, we attended the State Properties Committee meeting where I gave testimony in regards to, the egregious act that RIDM has created by attempting awarding a 20-year street level parking to Proximity Palino after the grave harm they created. I just hope that our town council will step up to the task. I think it's your fiduciary responsibilities to fight this. The town of Richmond and Exeter have fought this, and they won. There are other states where towns have fought the litigations against agencies usurping the powers of the local municipalities, and they won. But if we do not fight, and we just sit back, we're all going to be looking at street-level parking lot for the next 20 years, which to me is horrendous. It's awful, especially in light of what they've done to our beautiful village. I also hope, I know that we all have different platforms, all different ideas. I know that signage is going to be possibly put up, and I know things change over time. So what might be good, when we might look this summer, we might end up finding out the signage has not worked. It has not deterred parking. We're still going to have bumper-to-bumper cars on Ocean Road. A lot of people are going to maybe get hit with $50 tickets. There's going to be a outcry, and nobody knows what the future will be. I know several of you will be running. I think 3 of you will be running, but we don't know what's going to happen in November. So if we end up getting a whole new council and they vote, you know what, we don't want the signage. We saw that the signage was put up. It was not effective. It did not deter people from parking on the roads. And then what do we have? So I think that if we do put signage up, it should be temporary, so that if we do get a whole new council and they say that the signs should not be up there, we're not going to have to, spend a large expense to have them taken away. So that's another concern of mine. And also we have wind farms. We have a proposal of wind farms. I hope that all of you can speak out in regards to wind farms. Wind farms have shown to have negative effects on our marine life. The fishermen are upset during the blessing of the fleet. And I know Councilwoman Bonanno was there. We also saw that they were petitioning, arguing that it's going to, potentially and have a great harm to the fishing industry, to the marine life. We've seen whales beached, and even though they said that, some people are saying that it's not causal, there is research out there, there are, which I've seen by documentation, that shows that, yes, seismic sounds do adversely affect the sea animals. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to participate in the open forum public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to consent agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next up for new business from the Parks and Recreation Department, we have a motion to approve a request from Life Safety Solutions, LLC, to host the Summer Safe Ocean State 5K Waterman Eco Challenge Road Race on Saturday, July 20th, 2024, subject to state and local requirements.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion from the council?
I just have
Counselor Ferrini.
one question. I'm looking at the sheet now. I did see one, there was, I think initially there were 2 routes where this could be, and I just want to make sure that it stays, one went through the neighborhood of not the Village of Point Judith, it looked like, and this one looks like it goes through the, the escape road and the main road. I just want to make sure that, if the route can stay the way it is in the escape road and not go through the neighborhoods. It's kind of a small
Yeah,
neighborhood.
it is for the escape road. I did speak to the organizers, and it is going to be the escape road. Any other questions from the council?
That's fine.
It's the
Thank
escape road
you.
at 7 a.m., so,
Yeah,
so
no, I
that's,
understand.
but if they decide to move it to the pier, no, but right now,
No,
it's
this
fine.
is, yeah. Anyone else? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the Public Works Department, we have a motion to award the bid for stone and fog sealing various roads to the lowest bidder, Comer Contract Incorporated, at their quoted unit prices for a 1-year period, and authorize the town manager to sign the contract after review and approval by the town solicitor. This contract is eligible for a 1-year extension if agreed upon by both parties.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have a motion to approve a 1-year contract extension for OEM plow parts for the Public Works Department with the Jana Truck Equipment Company Incorporated at the percentage discount off list prices of 27% under the same terms and conditions as the original bid.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, from the town clerk's office, we have a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading an amendment to Chapter 14 entitled Businesses of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett.
So moved.
Second?
Okay. This, I can just kind of give a quick description. There's some minor changes. Let me see if I can access it. Hold on one second. It's just some changes.
It's a 90-day notice.
Yeah, so 90-day notice is eliminated, and let me see. Does any, oh, yeah, so it's just some minor edits to it, just changing some wording and taking out the public hearing part of it. Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up is a motion to reappoint Catherine Homan to the Board of Canvassers for a 6-year term to expire on March 1st, 2030.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have a motion to reappoint Callie Longval and Anthony Colombo to the Coastal Access Improvement Committee for a 3-year term to expire on March 1st, 2027.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion from the council?
Just want to say, as the representative from the town council, both Callie and Tony are tremendous folks on that council. They do a great job.
Thank
coming
you.
on that committee.
Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have a motion to appoint one individual to the Rec Advisory Board for a term to expire on November 1st, 2026.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, so right now I'm going to ask for any nominations for this appointment.
I'd like to nominate Roxanne Pereira.
I'd like to nominate Casey Montanaro.
Any other nominations? Okay, Counselor Lawler, why are you recommending Roxanne Pereira?
The beach right now, with all of the storms and the changes being made, really could use the expertise. Roxanne was on the rec board years ago, and with the recent change with losing the former town rec board director, Tom Warren, we could really use her historical knowledge of how the beach has been traditionally moved and managed during the summer months especially, as well as her knowledge about other events in town.
Counselor Kopek.
Casey is she's an owner of the Bike Stop Cafe. She is somebody who has been very involved with Narragansett, and she has a great interest in all aspects of the rec board. I think that it's important that we have somebody who is broad in her thinking about, recreational activity in the town, and I think she's really a wonderful, wonderful member of our community.
Let's try to draw a consensus instead of.
Right, no, exactly. So, so that we're going to go around the council and just be able to come up with a consensus so that we don't vote anyone down. That is the process. So, Counselor Cicilline Bonanno?
I know Roxanne well, and I know Casey well. I think they would both be great choices. The only reason I'm sort of leaning towards Casey is because Roxanne has had the opportunity to serve on that board, and I just think it would be important to have somebody new and different with some different ideas. So I would support Casey.
Counselor Ferrandi?
I would support Roxanne for the position. She's got some legacy there, and we're going through a little bit of a tough time at the beach, and also I think it's all good knowledge. And I know Casey's running the restaurant and all, a good citizen, but I would favor Roxanne Pereira.
Thank you. I also think they're both great candidates. I do like the fact that Roxanne has served before, and there would be some kind of institutional background there and memory. So I would support Roxanne. So would somebody like to make a motion for an appointment?
I'll make a motion to appoint Roxanne Pereira to the Parks and Recreation Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, we have from the town solicitor, we have a motion to receive and make a determination on the validity of a voter initiative to amend the town charter to establish procedures whereby all candidates for town council and school committee in the town of Narragansett would be elected on a partisan basis. That is, by placing a party mark or designation on the ballot next to the name of any candidate if they belong to a political party.
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Mr. Davis, could you just discuss this agenda item, please?
Yes, as you likely know, the town charter sets forth procedures whereby voters by petition may initiate legislative proposals for consideration by the town council. The process permits voters to enact and/or rescind town laws, regulations, ordinances, and resolutions. And as you noted, on February 8th, I was provided a petition that was submitted by Winters B. Hames III from the town clerk. I've reviewed it. You've read the petition, and I find it to be legally permissible, and as such, I recommend the town council find the petition to be valid.
Thank you. Any discussion by the council? Anyone from the public? Dr. Alba?
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. So I'm sure the town solicitor did exercise due diligence, but I'm just wondering now, is this automatically going to go into play, or could we vote upon this, or no?
No, the petitioner then has to satisfy the requirements, work with the town clerk, get the necessary signatures within a certain time frame, and only then does it come back for a decision to be put on the ballot, at which time the voters would approve it. So there's hurdles to be accomplished before anyone gets to pass it or vote on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have an executive session. Do I have a motion to retire to executive session of the Town Council in accordance with RI General Laws 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A2 for the purpose of discussing potential litigation?
So moved.
Second,
Can I have a roll call, please?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Jill Lawler, aye.
Eva Trzynski, aye.
Susan Cicilline, Banana, aye.
Steve Ferrandy, aye.
Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. We'll be back with a disclosure of executive session votes and for adjournment. Thank you. Okay. Return from executive session. At this point, I'll do disclosure of executive session votes. We had a motion to seal the minutes. Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopech. Motion passed 5-0. Lastly, we had a motion to exit and return to executive session. Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopech. Motion passed 5-0. Lastly, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0.